It's me, Sunny Secular, coming at you with a video. This video we will call it, okay, I might as well go there. I'm finna go there. Okay, here we go. We're gonna call it my coming out story. You heard me. My coming out story. So, it leads up to how I became secular, or humanist to be exact. But let's get started. Hopefully this won't be too long. I'm going to try not to make it long, but who knows what's going to happen. I'm going to leave a clip in here too. I'm going to try to. I went to a rainbow festival yesterday and it was super fun. Super fun. But some things bothered me. The fact that there was a row on the side of the Rainbow Festival where it was nothing but church goers, church people. And they had signs, oh, our church doesn't discriminate. Oh, our church doesn't do this. Our church doesn't do that. Now, mind you, before you come into the festival, there are people outside of the gate with their megaphones talking about you're going to hell and this and the other. But then when you come inside, there's a row of people, oh, our church isn't like that. And I'm like, get the hell out of here. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to me, reel it back around. All right, my story. And when I say coming out, I'm not necessarily mean LGBTQ plus. Not necessarily. I'm referring to coming out of religion. Period. I was born and raised Jehovah's Witness, JW. Born into it. Meaning, when you're born into something, it is a much different story. It's a different story than if you were, if you've transitioned into the religion or you were, I don't know, brought into it by someone else. Being born into it is different because there are some things that you just know or should know better. You're judged a lot harder, and it's just worse, especially in something that's considered that can be considered as a cult in the first place. Yeah. And a lot of people are going to get mad at that word. It's not a cult. It's not a cult. Yes, the hell it is. Anytime you try to separate people and it's the us versus them type of mentality that you have, it's a cult. Anytime you say that you can't talk to other people, friends, family members, because they're not of the same religion as you, it's a cult. Anytime someone leaves and they don't do what you want them to do, so you're told not to speak to them, not to involve with them, to shun them, it's a cult. That's how cults act. And if you're participating in that, it's a cult. There's a book out that has what's called bite models. I'm going to leave the title of the book in the description down below. You can check it out on your own. I haven't finished the book, but when I do, I want to start making videos on that book. But let's go back to being born into Jehovah's Witness. So, to give you an idea of what it's like to be born into a Jehovah's Witness, imagine having a life as a child. Imagine being a child. Go back to your childhood, okay? And if you go to public school, which I did in the 80s and 90s, okay, I was in school. Anything that any other children are doing, you aren't to do. You can't have any friends that's not Jehovah's Witness. We were able to get past, when I say me, I mean me and my siblings. We were able to get past with one of the rules because The family that was directly across the street from us, they weren't Jehovah's Witness, but her father was a pastor, and so therefore my mom said, okay, you don't have any other Jehovah's Witnesses around this area where we are, you can talk and play with them. But that's all, because they're across the street and I can see you. Okay? So, no friends or families that aren't Jehovah's Witness. We couldn't, when it comes to school, you're not supposed to be doing New Year's Eve because everybody else is celebrating it, so it's of the world, as they say. So you can't participate in anything that's of the world, meaning not Jehovah's Witness. If you have Valentine's parties at school, you're supposed to stand in the hallway, sit in the hallway until everybody is done. No Valentine's cookies, cakes, no cards, nothing. No birthdays, get in the hallway. No Halloween, definitely no Halloween, get in the hallway. No Thanksgiving, you can't participate in the plays, get in the hallway. No Christmas, no plays, get in the hallway. Nothing after school or going to any other schools. So that X'd out all after school programs. No basketball, no baseball, no football, no band, no track, nothing. You go to school, you get your education, and you go home. And then you study for the meeting. You had meetings on Tuesday. You had meetings on Thursday. You went out in field service on Saturday, and you had meetings on Sunday. So they didn't leave too much time for you to think, which is why it's a cult. Anything that's not of them, they think it's of the world or of the devil, which basically coincides with both of them, the world and the devil. They had lots of stupid stuff, especially in the 80s, which I laughed at and got scolded for because I didn't believe. They had this one thing where you couldn't watch certain programs. You weren't allowed to watch Ghostbusters because it was ghost. He-Man because where was he getting his powers from? She-Ra, the Smurfs. They had something about the Smurfs supposed to be a devil. They even had a story back when I was a child about somebody who allegedly had a Smurf doll, and the doll came to life and jumped off the countertop and started running around. It spread all over the place, and they were really believing it. Oh my God, it was a devil. You see how demons can travel? You don't get anything from flea markets because it could have something demonic on it. Everything was of the devil. Everything. Besides not being able to do anything, you couldn't listen to certain music. You couldn't watch certain movies, TV shows, anything. And to be a child, a female child, was the worst because you especially didn't have the rights that the men have. Your job was to be basically bred to be a wife. To be somebody's wife was your goal. Not to learn how to live independently. Not to be able to survive if something happens to your husband or your husband is abusive or dies or anything like that. Not being self-sufficient, but to be a wife. Because after all, the end of the world was coming. Oh, did I forget to mention that? Yes. They believe that the days are numbered and Armageddon is coming. So, despite all the things that you're going through in school, not being able to participate in anything, or have friends, or be around family members, meaning no cousins, no aunts, no uncles, no none of that stuff. Now you have to be worried about the end of the world. I was told from the time I was basically born that it was the end of the world and nothing that I did mattered anyway. Why did I want to? Uh, College was especially out of the question. Now I've heard that over the years that has been flexed some, but when I was coming up, you were not allowed to go to college because the devil could get to you in college. And you can be talking to other people who weren't Jehovah's Witness, so therefore you didn't need to go to college. So higher education was a no-no. Why would you need to go to college when the end of the world is coming? Why would you need to be anything other than a wife because the end of the world is coming? To grow up in a cult where you think the end of the world is coming constantly is something that you cannot, quote unquote, get over. Especially when you grow up to be an adult and have children of your own who are now adults, and their grandparents still think the end of the world is coming. And they still not only have nothing to do with you, but your children as well. That's the truth of growing up out of Jehovah's Witness. I was kicked out when I was 17, going on 18, because I had no intentions on becoming Jehovah's Witness. And so I was told that they didn't want my negative energy to get on my siblings. So, if you're born and raised Jehovah's Witness and you're not allowed to have any friends or family or anything like that that weren't Jehovah's Witness, and then they tell you to get the hell out, you're basically a baby out in the world. Because you were so sheltered that you didn't know anything but that. So, my 20s, of course, I wilded out. Had nobody to talk to. Wasn't allowed to talk to my siblings. Wasn't allowed to come anywhere around the house. So I lived with friends and their parents. Now, my story could have been a whole lot different because I've seen stories of other people who were basically in the streets and homeless and wound up on drugs or prostitution and all of that stuff. That didn't happen to me. None of that happened to me. Thankfully, I had good friends, or tolerable friends, shall I say. Even though I wasn't allowed to have quote unquote worldly friends, I did anyway. And so that kind of protected me from being butt ass out in the world, shall I say. So I stayed with a friend and their parent until the parent was like, well, she can't stay here. She can't stay here forever. And then I would go to another friend and their parents and so on and so on. And I did that pretty much. I want to say, let's see, I was out of 17, 21. Yeah, from 17 to 21, that's what I did. And then I had my daughter at 22. And then I was able to get my own place at that time. So, yeah. Then I had my 20s where I partied. And before I had my daughter, I drank. I wasn't so much of a smoker. Well, no, I'll take that back. I did smoke. But I wasn't the type that bought my own. Like, I would smoke my friends, with my friends, or I would drink with my friends. I never bought it myself. So therefore it was easy for me to kick it once I had my daughter. And even when I had my daughter, I still went to the club because I had somebody to watch her. And then by the time my son came, when I was 26, 5, wait, 2, yeah, 6, 26. When I had my son at 26, everything cut out. No more partying, none of that stuff. Everything cut out because I wanted to be responsible adult. But I still had what they call let's see, let me think of it. POMI. I was physically out, mentally still in, even at that time in my 20s, because of all the brainwashing that had happened to me prior to that. So I still didn't have contact with my family of friends that were still, Jehovah's Witness. I refused to go into that again. I knew that much. I knew that no matter what happened to me, it wasn't going to make me be in, which is basically what shunning is designed to do. It's designed to put you in a place where you don't have anything else and you have no choice but to come back in. Unless you're strong-willed like I am, you're not going to go back in. Um, by being born and raised into Jehovah's Witness, I missed out on a lot of relatives that I could have known. I missed out on uncles and aunts and cousins and just basically family reunions. I didn't go to any family reunions because the family wasn't Jehovah's Witness. You feel me? So I missed out on a lot of family members I don't know even now to this day, which I stay basically to myself. And I'm not going to say I don't know how to, speak with them, but what do you say at this point in time? I'm an adult. My children are adults. It's just really nothing that I can say. But I am saying that I missed out on that. But, what was I going to say? My family members, I still didn't have that even in my 20s. The way they brought you up to be a woman, wife, or whatever, yeah, I still had that type of mentality, and therefore I was basically, I call it preyed upon by people who knew they could take advantage of you for not knowing anything. So yeah. So in that, with that trying to be quote unquote a good wife, you run into people who just want to use the hell out of you and still not marry you. So that's what that was. And then once I got in my 30s, I realized that, well, I knew Jehovah's Witness was bad, but just when it came to our religions, I studied so many different religions. I was even pagan. Actually, I was the paganism was last after studying with everybody else. And I was pagan before I became a non-believer, non-anything. And then I went to being humanist. But in the Bible, when you go to places like the Old Testament, Exodus 21:7, where it's okay to sell your daughters, or Exodus 21:21, when they talk about slaves and if they're able to get up the next day after being beat for so long, that's not taken out of context. You know what I'm saying? That's wrong. If you are anybody of any type of different race besides the one that's in the Bible, and if you're a woman, and if you're both, this book should not even make sense to you to be following. a book that condones, like in Mark 7:10, where it's okay to kill your child for being disobedient, or different passages in the book where it talks about genocide, killing everyone, man, woman, and child. It's repeated parts of genocide, repeated parts of killing, repeated parts of blood sacrifice. If you're not pagan, you're not going to realize all the blood sacrifice passages in there. But there are lots and lots. All the parts where a woman is less than. All you're good is for one thing, and if you get raped, oh well, that's just too fucking bad. If they want to sell you, then they can sell you. You're not supposed to be talking. You're supposed to be silent. You're not supposed to show this, hair or cover up or something like that. You're not supposed to take the lead. If you're raped, it's too bad. Just fucking, if you're a child and you're 9, 10, 11, and it's okay to marry you, and then you raise other children. A child raising a child. Like, seriously, this sounds like a good book to you. This is good, in your opinion. Good. Where to me, it just doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. And I refuse to follow. Family, to me, is more important than anything else, and there should not ever be a religion, a cult, or anything that tells you not to associate with your family just because they're not a part of that religion. Like, that's more of a cult than anything I could think of. Well, this is all for now. If you want me to go into any more details or you have any questions, leave it down below. I'll be glad to answer it. And until next time, stay happy. Peace.
Yeah, 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 ay.